How do?
Alright, we're back.
Gareth, so this is what me and Brian want to do. Brian's in back, you might see me, you might not. Gareth, we had a little chat before Christmas, bit of an intro. In the pinned comment, because I'm not technically fantastic, I will put a link to the previous video if you want to watch the introduction. It's about half an hour's long. Gareth works at Forest Bank, HMP Forest Bank, private prison. That's where I started my prison career, as it were. How long were you there, Gareth? Remind us again.
15 months. 15
months. So the first video, some people mock that 15 months. You know, why bother? Let me tell you now. 2 people this week I've spoke to have gone into the prison service. Yeah, watch the channel. Fair warned is fair armed for me. If you know what you're going into, you stand a better chance of surviving it. There's people that won't come out of training, they'll leave. People will be there similar length of time to Gareth, you know, and then others, a lot of it depends on your integrity, your family background. Like a single person might survive better than a family person, because it changes you, and it changes you very quick. Does it not?
It does, yeah.
The first thing I want to talk about, though, Gareth says they're still recruiting. Listen, Forest Bank have been recruiting. You know, they probably had a first opening 1999, successful 12 months, decent staff. Then after that, it was a continuous recruitment. When I started, I think it was about 18 grand, round about 2001. The public sector on full money were on 32 grand then. However, you had to be in 10 years at that point to get up to full money. Gareth just said now, nearly 32 grand they're offering starting pay at Forest Bank. So, public sector, private sector.
They're on roughly parity now.
Yeah, they're on similar sort of money, which is a nice thing to know. However, there's a reason that the money has come up, and that is just...
no one wants to do the job.
Nobody wants to do it. A lot of young people starting.
Very young.
Is it still 18?
Yeah, there's still 18, 19-year-old, basically 18, 19-year-old kids running around that jail. And some of them now are running around with red badges on.
Red badge, senior officer, which, so if we go to public sector, you've got a prison officer. You've got a senior officer who's in uniform on a wing manager. You then had POs, which changed to CMs. I don't know what CM stands for, it doesn't matter. You get the idea. POs, 2 pips in uniform. Used to be overall wing manager stroke governor type position. Plus they did the Oscar one, which is this shift leader.
Yeah, also, as I said in the first video, Oscar's what keeps that jail moving.
Correct.
But one of the big reasons that I was looking at leaving was when they were talking about disbanding the Oscar role and having a red badge on rotation running the jail. I think it worked having Oscar 2 as a senior, working with Oscar, and like a senior, you know, like a senior red badge. And there were some very good seniors who could do the Oscar role. That
red badge is so degrading for me. It is literally a red. Officers wear a white badge with your name on. Blue now.
Blue.
Blue. A senior officer, I'm going to call them a senior officer, same as the public sector. It's just a red badge with your name on.
And Oscar was a white badge.
Oscar ones for me, when I started, and Gareth will back me up, when I started, the Oscar ones, I can remember all the names. They were all good people, very good.
Yeah.
They were good in situations. They worked hard. They definitely kept the jail running. They were managing people all the time, you know, every weekend. Back then, when I started, at the weekends they were short. No spare staff. You're supposed to have spare staff in a jail. They're not spare, because when there's an incident, they go to an incident. So the spare staff that aren't there, weekends, and I'm quite sure, quite definitely, it was like that when Gareth was there.
Yeah.
The weekend, I'd be on a wing with somebody else. There'd be an alarm bell on another wing. We're looking. If I'm on with someone who's new, they're not interested, so I'm leaving the wing. I'm leaving them on their own on a wing to go to another wing. and that's how you managed.
It were a little bit different when I was there on the weekends. They had, so on the mains, you know, A to F, half of them would have their association in the morning, and the other half would be locked down.
Right.
So there would be skeleton staff on the wing that was locked down, so they were available for.
So basically, just split the time instead of having everybody out. You just split that time.
So half had it in the morning, the other half had it in the afternoon, and you would have just enough spare staff for a response if you had them in the morning or in the afternoons.
Response is people who are going to an incident. And again, did you have response radios?
Yeah, you had the red button on the top of the radio. You could press it with the person.
I mean, did you have staff who were carrying a response?
No, just go
on. So when I was there was response. I can't remember. November 1, November 2. They're just call signs. Mike 2. So Mike 2 was based in the Seg. November 1, November 2 were about the jail. And there was one other. So what had happened? You were called first response. So there's an alarm bell. You 4 should attend. If you needed more staff, you get on the radio and ask for more staff. However, I've been on response with 3 other people. I've responded to an incident and they haven't.
They would, when you signed on in the morning, they would allocate you as either first or second response on your call sign.
Yep.
And generally, if you heard the word response, people who were spare would just leg it, and you'd see a big influx of people going towards that wing. You generally find there were people who like going down the hope there's a decent scrap going on, and other people who would go and just very quietly start locking doors. And some people who wouldn't, which again is still needed.
Yeah, horses for courses. If there's an incident, what Gareth's saying is some people will go to that incident. You might be putting hands on, you know, restraining people or whatever, or dealing with bad assaults or something like that. The other people come on are locking prisoners behind the door. Both jobs equally important. Like I said, some people, you know, might have the physicality, the presence, the confidence to deal with prisoners directly. Other people, not so much. So they're locking doors. Fair dues on that one.
Yeah, I do remember one incident just before Christmas one year. One of the wings, it kicked off quite badly, and then it went. I was on D wing at the time, and I don't even remember, the stairs are opposite D wing.
Yep.
And I heard a bell go, so you know, some press a personal alarm, and literally 5 seconds later, another one that was on the same wing. By the time I got to the top of the first set of stairs,
yep,
it had gone to second response. By the time I got up to the landing, Oscar basically just screamed, "Get every spare fucker in the jail up here now," and it was like the Wild West.
And what actually had?
It had kicked off between. Apparently, these 2 prisoners had a bit of an issue with each other. They were from rival gangs in Manchester.
Yeah.
So they kicked off, and then the second they kicked off, it just spontaneously started to go.
You know.
And it was just fights all the way down the prison line. We had one con jumped off the 2s onto the pool table to get another lad.
Really?
Yeah. When I watched the video back in the January, I was on nights. Funny enough, with the Oscar who'd been in charge of it, and we sat and watched it back, and we just went, "Wow, that was some crazy shit."
And this isn't normal stuff, is it?
No.
It does become... Forest Bank... In fact, listen, let's get this straight now. All them people that aren't sure. Private sector, public sector now. Some private sector prisons and some public sector will be doing better than others because they've got some experience. They've got a good #1 governor. He's the main man. Or, we have to say this, don't we?
Yeah.
Or woman. Yeah. Who's overall, they can impact the morale of the jail. I am very lucky. When I was at Forest Bank, 2 very good #1 governors, very different, and same at Strangeways. A governor can make it, but then that, you know, it goes down through the ranks. If your managers, HMP Hindley, I believe, allegedly, get this one, if your managers or everyone above a certain level, a certain grade, get a big bonus at Christmas, like £1,000, for no good reason, and your shop floor workers, them that are residential units dealing with all the incidents and everything else, and short-staffed and stressed, understaffed, inexperienced staff who don't speak English, Yeah, he's nodding, Gareth, because we've already had that conversation. He says, I might not mention that on camera. Quite definitely we are. They're employing people who don't speak English as prison officers. If you can't see why that might be a problem, then, you know.
I mean, it's handy if you've got someone who can speak a foreign language with, you know, when you get foreign prisoners in, because I remember having a lad who was from Libya, and he kicked off out of frustration that he couldn't communicate in, you know, because he couldn't communicate because he didn't speak a word. Well, he spoke very, very, very minimal English, and luckily there was one lad that was fluent in Arabic, and it just happened that he was able to communicate, and it de-escalated it before anyone had to get any hands on. When he finally realised someone could speak to him in a language he understood, it just brought it all down. He put down the pool cue that he was going to wrap around someone's head and went behind his door, and no one had to get hands on.
However, that's a very small...
Very, very small. But there was, as I was getting ready to leave, there was a course coming in, and I think I counted on one hand the number of people who spoke fluent English.
Wow. You cannot imagine. Back to Inley, like I said, morale flat bottom, and all the managers get a bonus. It don't work like that. Again, you know, other prisons will be on their arse. Don't matter whether private or public sector now. Inexperience everywhere. No man, I can't even imagine. It'll be absolute chaos. Anyway, as usually happens with this, it just finds its own way. We're going to go back to Forest Bank now. Like I said, the introduction, we didn't deep dive. So I want to know how long Gareth enjoyed the job for, or not necessarily enjoyed it, but, you know, thought, okay, we're going to have a go at this. And how long into his career till he thought, can't do this?
Do you know what? I'd honestly say I remember it, my first month live was when you start questioning, was this a good decision?
Really?
When you do your shadowing and you're watching, and you got like, I jokingly said I've got the training wheels on at the minute, because you're watching other people.
Yeah, of course you do.
And then all of a sudden you go and you're on your own. And I think I've been a little bit mollycoddled in that I've done 2 weeks on D-Wing. So
did they have good staff?
Good staff, and also VPs are far more compliant.
Right, so he's on about vulnerable prisoners or sex offenders.
They're far more compliant in that they will bang up when you tell them to bang up. They keep the wing clean. They generally do as they're told.
Because?
They're in fear, because they fear the rest of the prison.
And also, they're with like-minded people, aren't they?
And also, but they are far more manipulative, and they'll tell you how much of a great officer you are, and they'll tell you you're wonderful and this, that and the other, and blow smoke at your backside. And then you think to yourself, why are they saying that? And then you realise that that's all part of the way they think and act.
It's sleazy, isn't it?
Very, very.
So you've done 2 weeks.
And then I went on to C-Wing on a weekend, because on a weekend you tended to find you did the morning on C and the afternoon on D, because C and D worked together.
As a group,
together.
yeah.
So we would help them, they'd help us. So because D-Wing was locked down in the morning, some on the weekend you might find one day you're on D-Wing all day.
Yep.
So you'll have the morning quite quiet, just getting them out for meds out, get cleaners out, you know, towards dinner time. And it's a control feed as well, so you're just getting them out a bit at a time for dinner.
Really?
Yeah. Then, whereas C-Wing, they were out all morning. And I went on to C-Wing and I thought I walked into a jungle. I was like, wow, because I hadn't had that. Right,
so I'm going to ask you this, Gareth. So what you're saying there, used to do that Strangeways, like C and D-Wing were paired up together. D-Wing staff regulars, C-Wing staff regulars. When they were short, they came together as a group, and you might find yourself on a different wing. I'll tell you now, at Strangeways it were like this. Even staff. So I started on K-Wing at Strangeways. I'd go down to C-Wing on overtime. The staff pretty much ignored you. And you just survive by talking to lads, and I'm talking about the prisoners now, who you knew. But it might as well have been 2 different jails.
I remember when I go live, you know, actually onto the roster into my staff, and I was paired up with, and look, we were on D2, I always remember it. And we jokingly said by dinner time we wanted to quit because what could have gone wrong that morning did go wrong. But bear in mind, the two of us between us had the grand total of 5.5 months of prison service, and the majority of that was her.
Did everyone just take the piss out of you?
The cleaners, in the end, it was the cleaners. We got by with the cleaners. If it hadn't been for the cleaners, it would have been bedlam.
Cleaners, prisoners you employ, usually of good moral compass or appear that way.
Or they've got something about them.
Something about them. Lads who are well known, big lads. They much might want some gym, so they'll clean for you and that, so they get extra gym. However, I quite definitely, when I were at Forest Bank, more than anything, but particularly looking back now, them cleaners had my back. And I ended up one of my last shifts on F wing. Yeah, the wings at certain times, don't they? Like F wing might be the worst wing, then 12 months later it might be A wing.
Yeah, they move. It seems because when they move, obviously every now and again they move a problem onto another wing.
Yeah.
So 1 week it might be B wing, then it's A wing, then it's F wing, then it's C wing, because they move the problem around the jail. It's because each wing will tolerate it for so long and go, right, get them off moving somewhere else.
One of my last shifts on F wing, no radio, on my own all day. Oppo went home. One of the cleaners come up. You're on, Mr. S. Yeah, don't worry, mate. You're all right. And you know, I felt quite safe, really.
There was some. I remember going, because obviously you don't just do. You can end up anywhere in the jail.
Yeah.
Because the jail could be short. I remember going on to.
I'm just going to open the window. Carry on.
I remember going to E-wing. Was it E? Yeah, it was E-wing. Yeah. And I didn't know any of the staff really, but I knew them to talk to, but I'd never worked with them before.
Yep.
And of them, one had predominantly worked in healthcare, so I didn't really know E-wing. The other one was E-wing staff, but was about as much use as an ashtray on a motorcycle. And I'm like, where's this? Don't know. Where's this? Don't know. I'm thinking, it's your wing. You don't know where things are. You know, hello. You know, you should have. You get to know your wing. You know where things are, because each wing, although it's a prison, each wing does run slightly differently.
Yeah, of course they do.
It'll have its own little, do something slightly different to another wing, and you have to. Best thing to do is just roll with the tide rather than fight against it. And again, it was I knew a couple of cleaners because they'd been on other wings and moved to E-wing. And again, it was the cleaners getting you through, going, "Don't worry, Gareth, I've got your back here, mate." And it is.
Looking back, yeah. So if I look back at all my prison career, I had some great times and stuff like that. However, private or public sector, Forest Bank or Strangeways, there weren't many days when there wasn't something that happened where your backside were twitching.
A little bit, yeah. There were, like I say, the one that always sticks in my mind was that big all out on B-wing, because it finished up. We had literally staff coming from all over the jail, and you're talking G&H running. You know, it's a good jog when you got to come from.
Right. So G&H. So Forest Bank, when I started, had a capacity of 1,100. They built 2 big wings. Did they get rid of the exercise yards or something?
No, they built it literally on the side. You know where the all-weather pitch was?
Yeah.
They built G&H to the side of it. They basically just extended the prison.
And were they VP wings?
They weren't when I started. They were basically drug and alcohol. They were getting funding for drug and alcohol. And it was known as the Eden Centre, so it was designed to get people.
Was it more sort of like a therapeutic environment, or is that what they were aiming for?
That's what they were aiming for, but it was still a prison wing. It was still, it had a regime and they were locked up and whatnot. But they had access to the programme, so you'd have the ones down the bottom, in the middle you had the classrooms where they could do the programmes.
Okay.
And then the 2 from the top, so it was like a dead zone between the 2.
I'm all for that, mate. Alcohol, drugs, people coming from bad family backgrounds and stuff like that.
And then they did, just around about 2/3 of my way through, they realised we got this big influx of VPs. Obviously things like Operation U-Tree, a lot of historics were coming to mind. So they were getting more and more VPs in onto E-wing, where the induction was. There wasn't room, so they had to create an overspill. So they moved a load off G-wing onto E-wing and put VPs onto G2 or G1. I can't remember either one. but they were them on there.
What Gareth's talking about is people who were committing offences, violating women and children, basically. And let me tell you, that's not only Forest Bank that got a big influx. It's everywhere. After I'd left Strangeways, like I said, a VP population exploded. There's dispersal prisons now, Frankland, Whitemore, Full Sutton. They've all got more sex offenders, more VPs, nature of the crime and stuff like that. And you have to have a look, for me, controversial as it may be, at a population explosion. You know, who's coming? Third world culture, violence, religion, I can say that. Third world culture, violence, religion, savages who have no respect for women or children. Back to Forest Bank, yeah? So how long in did you think, I can't do this?
It was probably, for a while it was going quite, I sort of found my feet and it was going quite smoothly. So, you know, but I think... Do you
think, going back, if you just lived one day, maybe a good day and a bad day, yeah, and you looked at it, you think, yeah, this job's not for me. But what happens is, you need money, you've got a family, you've got bills, so that's in your mind. And if you have a really bad day and the next day's okay, then you move on with that. What I'm trying to say is,
I think what it were in a way I got complacent was my downfall in a way.
Complacent in
that because I was predominantly on day wing.
Yeah.
So you're predominantly working with more compliant prisoners, and it can become almost, how can I put it?
Listen, I know exactly what you're saying. Forest Bank, not Forest Bank, Strangeways, the VPs, people had applied to go on the VP wing. I couldn't do it, me. I didn't mind doing overtime.
See,
however,
I didn't actually, the thing is, people keep saying to me, did you have to go on there? No, it was just where I was sent.
Exactly, you land where people put you, don't you?
I literally got told you're going on D wing. When I came off my course, about 2 weeks from the end, they said, right, you're going to A wing, you're going to B, you're going to C. I was the only one who went to D, and I went, well, it is what it is.
Yep.
And to be fair, you know, as much as the sex offenders and that, I will say we did have 95% of the staff on D wing were really good to work with.
Yep.
And ironic, when I got here, it was majority female staff. All the seniors bar one were female, and of the wing staff there was only one bloke, but he was off sick at the time having his knee done, and they just sent one to C wing who I replaced.
Again, Strangeways, VP wing, more female staff worked on the VP wing, which some people won't understand, than other wings. You know, when I was on K wing, we had 40 staff, probably 25% were lasses, yeah? K wing was, you know, quite a happening, Beirut, lot of incidents, lot of restraints, stuff like that. Big group of people. The VP wing, I would say it was probably 50-50, if not more lasses on there.
I would have said D wing when I got there was like 80% female staff. A lot of the guys had been dispersed to other wings because they needed people with a bit of something about them.
This is right. So talking about that, this is what we're on about in a male jail, isn't it? You need lads, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I said in the first video, there were a lot of the girls there were not scared to get their hands dirty, and they would. My first response was actually was on D wing.
First incident
was on D wing.
Okay.
And I was the only bloke. It just happened that it was predominantly female staff. And remember the video courts?
Yes.
They were bringing someone back on. They jumped in to help, and it just happened to be two girls. So it was all female staff. And I didn't really get hands-on. One, because I was still shadowing at the time, so I wasn't really meant to get involved.
Yep.
But you do. And it just happened the way, you know, it led. And it was like, I didn't really have to do anything because they had it all under control. They had the lad wrapped up, cuffed up behind his door in probably under a minute. And you're like, wow, that was quick.
Let me tell you something. This is one of the Oscar ones who were quite shrewd. We had a lad at Forest Bank who was kicking off behind his door. He'd been in a lot of strains. He was ex-IRA. He was a proper handful. He'd kicked off this day, oiled up. Professional prisoners, as it were, would get like baby lotion, cover themselves in it.
And on the floor as well.
On the floor, so it's slippy for staff, and when you get hands on, you can't put locks on. They got together, 2 teams of lasses. Told him they were coming in, pointed out they were lasses. He just basically, he were having none of it, you know, surrendered, as it were, because he didn't want to fight lasses. But that's because he got some moral upstanding, integrity and all that. However, I'm going to say Forest Bank would run with all female staff. Forest Bank would run with all male staff. All female staff, you're not doing all the prison work. All male staff, you can. And again, you need males in a male jail.
You do need, I mean, like I said in the first, I've kitted up with female staff, and they've not been scared to go in there and get their hands dirty and wrap people up. Majority of times they kitted up, they do tend to walk, but on the time when I've had to actually twist someone up, I've had, you know, girls with ears, and they've not been scared to get their hands and fly in there. And
but you have a choice. Who would you have?
To be honest, some of the girls would actually be at the top of my list.
None on mine. Not one incident ever have I been in where I'd choose a female member of staff.
There were a few of the girls there.
With the big glasses?
Not big, but as in, you could tell they got... No, not big as...
What, Gareth on the spot there.
No, do you know what?
Come on, Gareth.
They were honestly...
Fight your way out of it, mate.
I will fight my way out of it, because they know who they are and who'll be talking about. They went to the gym, they looked after themselves, they ate well, you know, they
come on, keep going.
They kept fit, they kept themselves fit. They didn't look like like they'd been eating McDonald's every day for 3 months.
Okay.
You know, they were athletically fit.
Yeah, are you still in contact with some of these lasses?
No.
Okay.
I'm not in contact with anyone in Forest Bank since I've completely...
No, you have to, mate. Shut yourself off.
I've completely cut ties with Forest Bank. And anyone who's watching who's worked at Forest Bank with me, I do wish you all very well for the future. I will say that. But it's nothing personal. I just want to forget them. This is my coup de grace to Forest Bank. I'm getting it out of my system, because the way I said, it's been eating me up since I left. Hence why I'm talking to you. Right,
we've had an introduction. We've talked about some stuff that's a bit controversial. Let's get everything off your chest now then.
Yeah.
We've got, camera-wise, about half an hour to get it off your chest.
Yeah.
If I need to come back, I will. I did say in the first one, and there is a lot of questions, I'd sort them questions out. For this one, for me, it's about Gareth getting stuff off his chest. If you'd like me to come back and ask him all the questions, and if there's any questions in this one, we will do that. It's no mither. Me and Brian now, this is what we're about. Go.
So, I mean, the thing, my biggest bugbear with Forest Bank is the training from the starters. It just does not get you ready to go onto a prison wing. And one thing I've been saying since I've left, and I've spoken to a few people in there, why don't they recruit ex-cons to come back? And B, when you've got a dummy prisoner, have someone who's been in a jail. Have them work, rather than a member of staff playing at being a prisoner, get an ex-con who knows the system. I'd be pecking Alan Law's head, you know, the guy who was in charge at the Strangeways riot.
Yeah.
I'd be pecking his head, asking him 101 questions. There's a guy who overthrew a prison. Why aren't they using him? That's my biggest bugbear. But the training itself, I think, like me and you both said, you should get CNR out the way first, and then get you in the jail as much as possible. Just
a bit of context, CNR, control and restraint. You learn to take prisoners down in a 3-officer team, sometimes 4. You have a leg man. It works very well. Olden days, Charlie Bronston, that it was just, you just get people who fight and chuck them in a cell with them. CNR, 95% of the times, it's safer for prisoners and staff. Carry on.
And I think The other thing as well is, and it's not a dig at details, but they need to stop using the same people, burning your head out.
Just say who detail is. What
details are the people who basically have to man the jail every day. And I don't envy their job, because I remember at one point we had like 8 bed watchers out, and you think each one's 2, so there's 16 staff, times that by 2, you've got 32 staff every day needed just for bed watchers. Luckily some can go down to 1-man bed watch.
Yeah.
And you can, in like, we had a couple of people who are end of life, you can put an OSO with them because they're not cuffed up.
What's an OSO?
Operational support, so the people who work in the gatehouse and that.
Not normally in contact with prisoners?
No.
Okay.
But with someone at end of life, they were able to get away with putting an OSO with them because they're not a risk. They're not going to get out of bed and escape because they're at death's door, and the OSOs didn't mind it for a bit of overtime for them. Nice little easy bed watch.
So training, sack of shit, that's, I can tell you, public, private sector, that's the same.
Yeah, it needs to be more emphasis on interpersonal skills. Yeah, it's great finding out how the jail works, because you need to know that, because you're going to work in that jail. But some of it, you're sat there going, what do I need to learn this for? It's just...
It's on the job training a lot of it, isn't it?
It needs to be more, like you say, control and restraint, and I would do more control and restraint than what they do. I mean, that's not a disrespect to the instructors who did a really great job, but I personally think it should have been getting more learning, more de-escalation than having to get hands-on, because now if you can sort your way out of a problem, you save yourself a heck of a lot of paperwork. Staffing, it's just horrendous. You know, there isn't a day goes by. I don't envy Oscar doing that job, where you've got to come in and go, this is what I've got, and I've got to run a prison because people are falling in sick, or just not turning up, or they're on bed watches, or they're doing a mental health transfer or something like that. You know, you see, you're losing staff, escorts, hospital appointments. You know, they're all funerals, weddings, you name it. I do not envy Oscar doing that job, but they need to be looking at... The trouble is, at the minute, the training is they're just getting quantity and over quality. I think it'd be better if you got one decent member of staff than 10 numpties.
What do you think the retention rate is?
If you look at my course, it's 8%.
After how long?
That's now. I do know there's still 3 of my course left in the jail, and considering 25 started.
So our course was at the time deemed very successful, because I think there were 24, 26 on the course. After the first year, there were 12 left. So they considered that to be...
Yeah, I think, you know, if you think we're coming up for... Obviously, last year would have been a year since I left. So we're now into, well, it's roughly 16 months since I left. In fact, a bit less than, probably about 14. And you think there's 3 left from the 25 who finished, and it's all been the same thing all the way through. Some during the initial time went, no, this isn't for me, I'm off. All right, fair do some. You know, they initially went, give it a go, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
In my case and a few others, you just got burnt out. Your head just eventually goes. You think, I just do not want to set foot in that place again, because you're constantly getting pestered for overtime on your days off. I mean, I remember being on holiday. I'm actually on holiday before I'm going, can you come and do a bed watch? I'm like, yeah, good luck. I'm 300 miles away. You know, leave me alone. I'm on holiday.
the hours in a stressful job, and you'll know yourself, a bit of a poverty trap, isn't there? Because
you get
good overtime rates.
I know there were people in there who were doing like 100+ hours of overtime a month.
Probably putting them into super tax bracket, 40, 50 grand a year.
Yeah.
And there isn't that many jobs that a normal person, and I class myself as a normal person, are going to get 40, 50 grand a year, is there?
Not we are, unless you've got like degrees and whatnot. Like I said, they've put the money up, but I just think the recruitment process, they need to be looking, like when you were saying about you had to get your O-level certificates out and blood pressure and psychometric things like that needs to be brought in, so you're not just getting people who go, oh, I fancy going working in a prison. It should be someone who's either been in the military, been security, or some
life
kind
experiences,
or some kind of people-facing role. I mean, for instance, there was one lad who'd been a bus driver. and he made a really good prison officer because he spent his whole day talking to people.
Yeah.
And
Communication.
and he had to deal with difficult people on a bus.
Yeah.
Where you don't have anyone to back you up. So, and he actually made a really outstanding prison officer.
So basically, he just got some life experience and he could talk to people.
Whereas we were getting literal, and it's no disrespect, literal kids who come out of, and they were so naive, it was unbelievable. One of them come to me with a shank. What do I do with this? Well, one, why haven't you got gloves on? Two, why is it in an evidence bag? And three, why were you going to throw it in the bin?
Which they won't understand that, will they?
I went, well, what is it? I went, that's a shank. Are you sure? I went, yeah, it's a toothbrush with razor blades melted into the end of it.
But that's naivety, isn't it?
Very naive. And it was no disrespect to them. And again, the shadowing doesn't get you ready for it, because that 2 weeks, it needs to be more time in the jail dealing with prisoners, but have the shadowing, so you going around every department in that jail. So you do a bit of time in reception, in the gym, in the chapel.
I think the problem is, Gareth, me and you are on the same page with recruitment. You need to look at who you're recruiting, life skills, communication skills. Your CNR is important. Time in the jail is more important than classroom work doing stupid tests.
I mean,
I agree with the experience moving around the jail. However, as soon as you're qualified, they're just sticking you in there. They're that short.
You're bound straight in that jail like a ping pong ball. You don't. This is one thing I do stress to people is, because funny this week I've just had a sports room once going to a prison service, and I gave them the good and the bad.
Yeah.
I said the good side of it is, and it's not all bad. I don't want anyone to think that it's the worst place in the world to work. You can have some really good days in it, really good laugh. There's days where you can just be stood there having a brew on the wing, and the wing's running itself.
Agreed.
And it's just it's running itself. The cons are just getting on with what they need to be doing. They're either playing pool, chatting away, laundry guy's doing his thing, and it's there. But you can, I don't know if you even notice, you can feel tension when you're on a wing. Yeah,
it's sometimes it's just awful.
You can feel when it's because I remember Sea Wing had a really bad reputation. I went on there on a Saturday, and I just remember sat there thinking, it feels calm. And I said to the girls, do
you not think overall though, weekends, I always used to say this, everyone takes weekend just the same as you do at home. You kick back and relax. Prisoners, weekend is weekend. It's not the hustle of the bustle of the week.
So the thing with the weekends where it would either go one or two ways. It'd be very chilled or it'd be manic. There were one weekend, I remember it really well. It kicked off in Muslim prayers on the Friday. Because I don't know if they did it when you were there, because you've got quite a lot, and you can't all fit in the chapel. Half of them used to go on visits, half would go in the chapel.
Right.
And it kicked off, and it set a domino thing. It started kicking off all the way down Main Street. We had like 7 responses between Main Street and visits, and it just set the weekend in motion. I worked it out, but I was on later, and I was on an A shift on the Friday. I was in that weekend, and then I had an early on the Monday. And between that A shift and me finishing on the Monday, it was 74 responses. It was just constant beep, 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 beep,
That's ridiculous.
And it was all over the jail. It wasn't just in any one wing. It was just all over the jail.
You just live on adrenaline, don't you?
Well, I looked at Oscar on the Monday. We've been on a weekend. We just went, that was some crazy shit, wasn't it? And we went, yep. But I just went home. I don't normally drink during the day, and I had 3 beers when I got home.
So, right, what really got to you? The training was not good.
Yeah, just eventually it was when I cocked up when I did what I did, was a lack of support from.
Can you tell us what you did?
I did illegal use of force. I basically and effectively shouldn't have used force, and then I didn't do the paperwork. I cocked up. I made a mistake, but rather,
what was it justified? So
no,
when we're talking about use of force here, right, it's got to be appropriate.
Yeah.
And justified.
It probably wasn't.
So you put hands on somebody,
and I shouldn't have done.
Okay.
But what made it worse? I didn't do the paperwork properly.
Okay.
So obviously that triggers the investigation. So thankfully the union went into bat for us quite a bit on that, and they were effectively saying that I was demonstrating CNR techniques to prisoners, which you could view it that way.
The staff said that?
No, the jail said that in the investigation. That was what they tried to get me on.
Yep.
And that effectively I breached a restricted document because it's all classified restricted.
Yeah, it is.
To which I then pointed out that you can get any CNR technique you want off YouTube.
Yeah, of course you can. And
you can get it by Googling. They tried to argue some technical. Anyway, in the end, I got slung in the gatehouse, and I just didn't feel like I got any proper support. It was you were left out, you were just, and then you get the piss taken out of you every day about the staff because look where you are.
You know why I'm nodding, don't you?
Because it probably happened to you.
Yeah, I was in investigation, zero support, you're guilty.
Yeah.
Straight away.
Yeah.
Staff treat you like piss. They remove you from the place you work.
You don't get to see your mate, so you get
no prisoner contact. I understand no prisoner contact, but people, if they've not been in that position, don't understand.
And then to make it worse, what really the final coup de grace was, I got a written warning, got a final written warning for it. I thought, all right, fair enough, put my hands up.
Yep.
I've fucked up, put my hands up. Right, we need to do security week again with the ITC. So I had to sit with the ITC for a week.
Who's ITC?
The initial training course.
Okay.
So this is a new batch of prison officers coming in.
Yeah.
And I got treated like shit by security. They really took the piss out of me. You know, I could understand a little bit of Mickey taking, but it was just constant. And I thought, all right.
Rather than just let you sit in the class.
Yeah.
Go through what everyone else is going through.
Just basically, they were expecting, rather than like, right, Gareth, look, come on, just show me how you cuff someone up on your way. No. They wanted me to basically treat me like I was back on the course again. And I'm like, all right, bite the bullet. Then they tried saying that I didn't do it properly, and I got hauled in front of HR, and they're like, well, you haven't done this. I said, I've done 54 escorts in this jail, and not one person's escaped while I've been in this jail. You just had an escape last week. Guy escaped on a bed watch. Was I involved in that? No, because I make sure when cuffs go on, they stay on.
Exactly.
And they're not coming off. They're not coming off for loving the money.
Correct.
You know, well, we did an investigation, this, that, and the other, and I'm like, all right, whatever. And then, they don't feel confident. And then they let me go back on the wing, then pull me off the wing, saying I weren't clear to go back. And I'm like, enough's enough.
How long did you last after that?
About a week. And I eventually, just one day, I sat in the gatehouse and I broke down. I just said, I can't do this job anymore. I literally, and one of the girls who I had to work with, I was right up a corner. I was crying my eyes out. And then she went, you all right? I went, I've had enough. I was sat in a ball, literally rocking back and forth, and she just went, I think you need to get out of here.
So how long were you in the job till you left?
Just over 15 months.
At what point did your missus say to you, I don't want you to do this job? You've never told me she said that, but I'm assuming at some point she went, Gareth.
When I got home that night and she said, what's up with you? And I told her, and she just went, is it worth it anymore? So I went off sick.
Had she shown concerns before that?
She basically said every day, you going to work, I want to know you make sure you're going to come back. Because the one day I was late home because prison needs to go out on an escort. So they needed staff. And Bruno, who was my manager at the time before me up, he said,
I know Bruno.
Good bloke, Bruno. A lot of time for Bruno. Really, really good manager. I would probably say, at first me and him didn't see eye to eye, but we grew in a bit of mutual respect, and we actually got along quite well. Because Bruno's Bruno. He's just but one thing I will say with Bruno is he's not, even as a suit, he's not scared to go and get his hands dirty. He's not. If there's a response, he's there and he's got your back. There were one day we were short-staffed and he was helping me bang up, and he went, you're in charge. I'm your lackey, basically.
Right, okay, so I had managers like that. When I was on F-Wing, Tim White, my manager, he was saying, Tony Williams, who were there, Chaddy.
Aye, we've gone right out there.
All them, hands-on, in suits, you're short-staffed, they'd be locking up, getting involved, supporting you. So, you got on with Bruno. I'm going to ask about the rest of the managers. How did you rate the #1 governor, deputy governor, and... You know,
the governor, the director was Trevor Short.
Don't they call him #1 now?
No, he's just the director.
Right, Trevor Short, yeah.
And Trevor's obviously been in the jail before. He came back to sort Forest Bank out because it was a mess.
Okay.
Number 2 was a guy called Dave Smart, but Dave passed away. He obviously was quite ill, and he passed away. Nice guy when I met him. He'd come from the public sector into... So then the acting director, who had been the head of security, and she was universally despised across the jail by a lot of staff because...
Why would staff despise someone?
Because, frankly, she's only in it for herself.
Okay.
She doesn't care about... She'll say nice to your face and stab you in the back. You know, or say one thing to you and do another. And that was one thing that really, really pissed me off with Forest Bank. With some of the managers there are only in it for themselves. I mean, the other thing you find as well is heads of this and heads of that. There's so many managers, you wonder what half of them actually do.
Well,
it could have been so streamlined down and had more staff rather than managers.
Do you think you want more managers who are like workforce based, workforce supportive?
Yeah,
really.
You want? I mean, it's like your heads of res. It's great to have them, but do you need 4?
Heads of residential, you had 4.
There was 4
There
heads.
used to be 1 heads of red when I was there.
There was one did A, B, and there was one did A and B, one did C and D, one did E and F, one did G and H, and then one looks after reception.
So straight away, you get rid of 3 jobs. You get someone who can manage all of them, don't you?
Yeah.
Save a bit of money and put some more troops on shop floor.
Or maybe even need to have 2 and have like split the jail in 2. But you have one then, so you're like 4 heads of res. Then you had a head of operations and a head of this and a head of that. And you're like, who's actually in charge? There was no... All right, you got your wing managers, which you need, which fair enough.
Were they present on the shop floor?
Somewhere,
Or-
some like Bruno was there, and you knew he was there, and he was available if you needed him.
So I'll tell you why I think he was a good manager. Well, when I worked with him, an officer.
Yeah.
So you could have a bit of a laugh. Even though he spoke crap English, you could have a laugh with him.
The mad
You
Spaniard
know,
we all
he was quite humble. You know, he was willing to learn.
Yeah.
Didn't think he knew everything. And I would imagine if he's gone on and stayed the same, which is quite difficult, and he's gone into a suit, then he will be a good manager to have around, because he'll be around, he'll have an understanding. He still won't think he knows it all. He'll have respect for you because he's done that job. And for me, you know, all prison governors and that they need to have come from shop floor.
The other thing as well with Bruno, if he gave you a bollocking, he did it behind closed doors, and then as soon as it was done, it was done.
That's my favourite thing. Favourite thing. Mr. Burt. There'll be lads watching this now, know Mr. Burt. At Strangeways, yeah. Give you a proper tearing down. 2 minutes later in office. Can do as an early start tomorrow, no problem. Or I'd go in office, any chance you could get me Friday off. You wouldn't ask why. Yeah, no problem, of course. That's what you want.
It's like Oscar-wise, Howard and Daz were both... Daz would take you to one side.
I know Howard, he wouldn't seg when I was down there.
Howard is an Oscar. He'd rip you a new one, and then 2 seconds later tell you a joke.
Which is fine. Again, you know, don't take things personal. We all make mistakes.
Yeah. He'd go, you done it, and then a second he'd go, he told me absolutely a really bad dad joke that ended with him clipping me around the ear.
I don't want no bad jokes on here.
Howard, if you're watching, it was the worst joke I've ever heard, but it was the fact he clipped me around the ear at the end and then went, don't do that again. I went, all right, Howard. And I just got on with it.
I don't know how long the camera's going to last, guys. I'm going to run it till it runs out or until it's finished.
Yeah.
Right. The worst. You've said, you know, why it ended.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I've been in that position. Get it off your chest now.
Like I said, that was the end of it for me. Was when I just realised, you know what, it's not worth the money. It's not worth the stress. I can make the same money sitting my backside in a lorry going up and down the M6 than I can having to deal with some idiot on the floor. Like I say, it's a constant churn of staff as well. You don't know who you're getting, and
It's draining, isn't it?
yeah, it is. And anyone who's worked on D will remember the guy I'm going to talk about briefly, who he came on. This guy was really educated. He had degrees and all sorts.
Talking about prison officer.
This prison officer, yeah. But he come from Nigeria, and his first biggest problem was he didn't like women. He had a massive problem working with women. He spoke down So a lot of girls who've been on, and one of them been there 20 years, and he went up to her and like, go, and I went, she's
so straight away, yeah, I can say this, you don't have to. There is cultures who do have a problem with women in general, and you can generalise and say that maybe people of a Nigerian descent, they have an attitude when they speak to people, and talking down to people, colleagues or whatever.
Yeah. But then they were doing it with cons as well, and the cons were like, I know I'm in prison, but you know, talk to me with a little bit of respect and you'll get it back. And in the end, I actually said he was universally despised by staff and by cons.
And he would, and that in itself, he's going to cause problems.
Yeah. When we had the all out on B Wing, I never to this day forget it. I had a con in a headlock. Like I've got his arm off his back and he's fighting me.
Is that an approved technique?
At the time,
I'm joking.
At the time, it was.
You need to do what you need to do. If it's one-on-one.
Yeah. So I'm wrestling with him. And I'm looking at him. He's looking at me. I went, "Do you want to grab the other arm, maybe?" And he stood there with the key. I'm like, Thanks for the backup, mate. You know?
Right. Listen to this now. So foreign nationals employing from the Commonwealth is all well and good. They need to be able to write English, speak English firstly to work in a prison over here, and secondly you need to look at the cultures and things like that. I'm going to give you a solution. What do you think to this, Gareth? We go to places maybe like Nigeria and that, and we build a prison. It'll be cheaper to build a prison over there. You can send staff from over here, you train people, and all them foreign national prisoners we get in, or some, and then maybe these other places, maybe Somalia and that, and we build prisons. And instead of holding foreign nationals over here, there you go, back to your own country in a prison and manage them over there.
It's not the worst solution I've ever had. But I mean, on the flip side, we did have another Nigerian lad who was outstanding. He was brilliant to have. I will say there's.
You're playing good cop, bad cop all the time. You.
I am saying there's another side to the coin, but there was another lad who was from Nigeria who was outstanding.
It's basic common sense. We've already said that. You know, the bus driver is a good example. Yeah, because I know people that say he was a bus driver. Guess what? He made a good prison officer. He got some life skills, and he could talk to people. Communication is key.
It's 95% of your battle.
Absolutely.
Anyone can wrap someone up if you know how. I mean, I got by a lot of time with really bad jokes and sarcasm and a lot of squaddy humour, having been in the military.
Yeah.
And prisoners do like the fact you can have a bit of a laugh with them, because they're in a stress. People got to remember that they're in a stressful situation. All right, yes, it's one of their own making, but it is a stressful environment for them. If you can do something to just bring that stress down, it makes your life easier as well.
I've said the best way to reform the prison service, let's not even get into it with probation and rest of criminal justice.
We'll be here all day
the strongest voice in prisons would be prison officers and prisoners sticking together. You know, putting it out there.
I think as well as that, if you also, one of the biggest issues is the amount of gang violence that comes into prisons as well, and especially with Forest Bank being a Manchester prison and all the gangs are in Manchester, they all end up in that one place together.
Plus it's not always a gang, is it? But like Bolton lads are going to stick together.
Yeah, the Rochdale lads are going to stick together. Oldham lads.
Wigan, Oldham, and quite often that means different ethnicities, doesn't it?
Do you know what? One thing I will notice, they did actually mingle reasonably well. There was very little like inter-ethnic violence. It tended to be.
Would you get areas though? So for instance, predominantly Oldham is going to be from an ethnic background.
Yeah, you would get that, but you would also find that they would, if say me and you were from Oldham, but we might be from different ethnic, but they would talk to each other. And the sort of grief tended to be like either gang related, or they would have some previous history from outside the jail and they want to settle it in the jail.
Would you be up for some time in the future chatting to a lad who possibly was in Forest Bank when you were there?
Yeah, I'm always up for a bit, you know.
We get any questions people ask over the 2 videos and run them by both of you. Me and Brian can sit in back and listen, and I'll just chip in now and again.
Sounds like a plan.
So we're coming up to the hour, Gareth. I
Yeah.
am aware it will run out any time now. Are you feeling any better, or
Do you know what? I do feel actually I've got off my chest what I've wanted to put it out there for some time about the bad, the good. If you do want to go into a job that's a challenge, then you know the prison service is for you. But be aware it will grind you down. You've got to be able to cope with that, because unfortunately with the prison there's no decompression from it. Whereas like, you know, the army, when you went on tour, you go and you decompress afterwards. There isn't that.
The army, the police, and lots of other careers that, you know, people are quite active or whatever, it's not all on the cold face, is it? Whereas prison,
it's every day.
If you're on a wing, as soon as you open up in the morning till you lock up at night, it's there, isn't it? You know, frontline coppers are not smashing doors in every day and dealing with violence and riots and stuff like that, are they?
No, they'll have days where it's a bit mundane, and you do get your mundane days in the jail, but you can guarantee there'll be something every day. There'll be something will happen, a response of some kind every day.
So let's recap. Training, we're on the same front. Yeah? You're seeing ours important, your control and restraint.
Interpersonal.
More time in the jail, interpersonal skills, and cut all the crap. All the paperwork, tests and shite like that is on the job training, isn't it?
Yeah.
In the jail, it's just having enough staff, isn't it?
Yeah, and keeping them.
Retention, the right people. Recruitment's all to rat shit, like you say, it's just bums on seats and has been for a long time. And what advice would you give to anyone going to prison for the first time? Firstly, prisoners. This is just your little take.
Don't walk in thinking you're the big I am, because there'll be someone bigger and harder will knock you back down to size. Go in and be humble. So
I'm thinking you could apply that to staff as well.
Don't walk in thinking you're Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Okay, yeah, that's what I always say.
Yeah, you know, remember, there's some of them lads in that jail are very, very, very handy, and will not think twice to put you in A&E.
Streetwise.
Yeah, and they will use anything and everything to do it.
Would you say speak to people and treat people how you want to be spoke to and treat yourself?
Yeah, speak to, you show respect, you get it back. And biggest one, like I said it in the first one, don't make promises you can't keep. If you can't do something, just say I can't do it, because they will test you. Prisoners will know you know. They will figure you, they will run rings around you, and they do it because they've got nothing else to do. They've got all the time in the world. You go home at night, they don't, and they will find every which way but loose to run rings around you. And you learn that jailcraft, as they call it, by spending time on prison wings.
You do.
Don't hide in toilets either, like some new staff did, thinking if I hide in the toilet all day and, you know, nothing will happen. Well, you remember, you're part of a team, and if you leave, that's, you know, a third of the manpower gone. You need to be on that wing, and
it's team game, isn't it?
And get to know your cleaners. If you're working on a wing, know your cleaners, because they are the people who will be your link between you and the cons.
Your eyes and ears.
Yes.
I think, Gareth, that's a fantastic place. You're up for a chat with an ex-con?
Yep. We can get it arranged.
In the comments, guys, if you'd like that and you'd like me to bring the questions back, I could put them to you and possibly to the lad I'm thinking of as well. We've finished on a positive note, because we're all about positivity. Hopefully you can move on now.
Yeah.
Got some of that off your chest. And keep in touch, dude, like I say.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Gareth, Brian, and hopefully you all know I am. Job's a good one.